So this week we keep upping our game here with the guests, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I was blown away when you told me we had this.
I was blown away when I saw a phone number come up from Florida, and I was like a couple of minutes after I had your email correspondence with Mr. Mero here, and I was like, no,
This is not the real guy.
This is not a thing. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marc Mero, formerly
WCW? Johnny B. Badge, formerly WCW, a former WWE Intercontinental Champion,
oh, man.
The Wild Man Marc Mero. We have
Golden Gloves
champion Marc Mero. We have there's so many things that we're going to get into, but let's just let everybody say hello. Marc Mero, thank you for joining us.
Bigot is my podcast. Bigot is my Bigot is my podcast. Bigot is my.
How are you today, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys, man. Good to be on your show. I've been looking forward to this. After that, the 7 questions from hell, I am ready to go.
At least you know what you're in for.
Right. The 7 questions is, hey, do I want to continue this? Or it's kind of that out where you're like, hey, guys, I got a thing to do.
You know, I had a chance to run, but I figured I'm going to put myself through this no matter what, okay?
we appreciate that.
Appreciate your commitment.
So Marc, you're currently working on an organization that you have created called Champion of Choices, also at thinkpos.org. Can you tell the people a little bit what it's about, what you're doing with it? I think it's a super, super important cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being, I've struggled with mental health issues and stuff like that. And, now we're finally in an age where you could be more open about it, and you can tell people about it, and people are kind of like, oh, well, I've felt that before myself. So can you tell the people a little bit about what your organization is about and what you do and whatnot?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I started Champion of Choices. We're going on 15 years now, and it's been an incredible journey. We work with, we mostly speak at schools, but we speak also at churches and community events and corporations all around the world. I mean, we went to Russia and spoke at schools out there. Last year, we were in Guatemala. And it's really just taken off. And we deal a lot with people that are experiencing, whether it's bullying or depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, any type of mental illness that we're seeing more than ever, and especially, during this pandemic. Some people, we're all going through this, guys, but some people are really having a tough time with it. So we've been dealing a lot with that, corresponding through social media and working and helping students to get through this. And it's been, a passion of mine because, I'm very honest and open. I think that's why people relate to my stories because, man, when I get there, I really open up and share, where my good choices took me, but blatantly honest where those bad choices took me through drug addiction, through depression, through anxiety or suicidal thoughts, all the things that I experienced in my life. And I think when I open up and talk about it, it helps other people realize that they're not alone, man. We're all going through some battle at some time or another in our lives. And there is no greater joy than seeing someone feel comfortable talking about what they're going through. You just saying what you just said, that you've dealt with some mental issues before, automatically makes someone feel at ease because they're not like you're trying to put yourself as something that you're not, or trying to be better than anybody else. I mean, we're all go through something at some time or another. So thank you for saying that.
Well, one of the things I definitely noticed when looking up some of the videos on YouTube and some of the interviews with you was honestly just how open you are and how free you are.
Super candid.
With your history, with with accomplishments that you made, but as well as mistakes that you made. And coming from the perspective of someone who's a songwriter and someone who is a bartender and talks to people constantly and is always listening to people, I find that incredibly courageous and refreshing And you're so right. Like it's so disarming to somebody that's in front of you when they can look at somebody and they're saying, oh, I'm not alone. That is one of the biggest things. And I was really impressed by that. What was it that kind of led you to the decision to start doing these, like the public speaking and making this kind of your life's work? What were some of the things that made you choose that? Or did it choose you? How did that come
Well,
about?
yeah, it's a really strange dynamic that happened. You know, first of all, there's no better freedom than honesty. And you realize that, you know, especially dealing with what we do about 230 events a year. We average 230 events a year over the last 14 years.
I have a question about that later because I saw
yes,
that.
up until March 12th when the pandemic hit, it's totally changed everything. And I'm sure we'll discuss that also. But, you know, I tell you guys, there's no greater joy than helping another person. But mine, it was really strange how mine happened. I mean, after wrestling was over for me, I fell into some really hard times. Drug addiction got really bad in my life. I lost everything. I went through the housing market after my divorce and, go from a multimillionaire to just hanging on and having to get a job. And believe me, I'm not being demeaning about this at all, but I had to work as a personal trainer at a Gold's Gym. And I remember people coming in the Gold's Gym and go, oh my gosh, Marc Mero, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I work here. They go, you own the place? No, I'm a personal trainer, and it was very humbling in my life, but I was so proud of that work ethic and helping people and stuff. Well, it got so good that I was able to open my own gym and hire personal trainers. And we had an amazing gym called Marc Mero Body Slam. But I got a phone call from Melbourne High School football coach. And he said, hey, Marc, I seen you on some of these TV shows. Do you mind coming to speak to our players about, steroids and drugs and things like that? And I said, sure. So I went over and I spoke to, I think it was 50 or 60 kids or whatever it was. And I got some letters from the students saying, Marc, that was really cool, man. I really liked hearing your story. And man, it really changed my life, really made me think about some of the choices I was going to make in my life. And so anyways, I thought, wow, that was great. I answered some of the kids back, but then that coach ended up telling another school, and that school called me and said, can you come and speak to our whole school? And it just snowballed. And then I had a video that went viral, and that video has been seen by millions and millions of people, and it opened doors all over the world for me to come and share my story about overcoming adversity, believing in your dreams and goals, not being defined by other people's opinion, and, being the best version of you can be.
That's great.
Awesome. That's an amazing message overall. And I also found a couple of really cool quotes that are attributed to you that meant a lot to me when I was kind of looking up stuff and going through some of this. So I was wondering if I could run a few of those quotes by you and just have you kind of expand on them. One of them was, your destiny is greater than your history, which, spoke a lot to me, because a lot of times we get fixated on like what we've done or not being able to move from where we are because we think we've achieved something and we've got to keep pushing for it. But you're still kind of looking at where you're at or what's behind you. And so that meant a lot to me. So I was wondering if you could kind of expand on that a little bit, because I think it's such a cool quote.
Thank you. I love that quote. And, the reason I really like that quote is because so many times we have trouble moving forward. And we sometimes, and as you get older, you get caught up saying things like, man, those were the days, No, these are the days. We learn from past mistakes. We grow in grace and knowledge. We accomplish anything we want to set our mind. So you want to write a book, you want to start a business. But, I really feel that, when I say that your destiny is greater than your history, is also to do with forgiveness. And, one of the things that really helped me propel my life is forgiving everything and everybody. But sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. And we get so caught up beating ourselves up over a mistake that we made, whether it was recent or years ago or decades ago, that we just keep beating ourselves up over, reliving those moments. And you either forgive or you relive. And too many times we relive these moments of our life, whether it's going through a broken heart, a divorce, a loss of a loved one, or whatever it would be. You have to move on from these situations. There's an old Dr. Seuss saying that said, it went something like, be glad that it happened, smile because it happened instead of crying because, I'm sorry. Oh gosh, it's going to kill me now. Don't cry because it's gone. Smile because it happened. Okay.
Yeah.
And so many times in our life, we like losing a loved one, and you beat yourself up because you didn't say something you wanted to say, or you didn't do something you should have done, or you hadn't act a certain way, But man, you can't keep beating yourself up over things that happened in the past. So moving forward is so important. And it always starts with forgiveness, and forgiving of yourself is sometimes the most important thing to do.
I think that's such an amazing message. And especially right now for people, because people are dealing with so many different things, from depression to losing people too. I mean, it's just it's a crazy time, and to have that mindset and to be able to kind of spread that around and share that with people is, one, it's an amazing gift that you're giving to people with that, but two, it really makes a difference. Just hearing that, just reading that quote for me made me like write it down and go, I got to ask him, like, this is cool. I have a quote and I'm about to talk to the person that I'm quoting, and I'd like to hear more about it. And such a cool thing. And actually one of the other quotes I had was, you said it right in that one, was your, either you forgive or you relive. And I think that's an amazing one too. So yeah, thank you for expanding on that. I got one more that I really liked. It was from you were talking. It was an interview that you did with Steve Austin that I listened to, where you were talking about friends are like elevators. They either bring you up or they bring you down. And I was like, man, I relate to that. So many ways. And honestly, I've been the elevator, in both ways. I honestly have. And I've had the elevator in both ways too. And it's, I as soon as I heard that too, I was like, oh, I gotta ask him about this too. So
yeah, I actually, guys, I have an amazing faith, and that actually comes from it, because I can't talk about God at schools and things like that, and I don't beat nobody over the head with the Bible or anything, but that is a biblical verse. It says in 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. And see, what he was saying back then was, your friends are like elevators.
Right.
So I just changed it around, but we become who we surround ourselves with. And it's so important to surround yourself with positive people, because you ever like have a conversation with someone who's so negative, always talking about other people, always hating this, can't stand this. You physically get tired talking to them, whether you're on the phone or in person. You're just like, oh my gosh. And when you leave that person, you wonder, why am I so tired? I am just worn out. But now flip that, hang out with someone that's upbeat, positive, man, just lifting you, making you feel good. It's the greatest feeling in the world, man. It's like you leave that place and you want to do something great, or you want to work harder at something that you're involved with or doing, So,
so true.
I tell you, Diamond Dallas Page is a really good friend of mine. In fact, we live close to each other now. I just moved close to him about 3 months ago. And, we hang out and been doing his DDPY yoga and stuff. And so it's so funny getting two people together that are really positive. It's like you just lift each other up, man. And you always leave each other feeling better than when you came in, and that's what we both hope to do with other people that we're around. Whenever I'm with someone, I want them to be encouraged. I want them to pursue goals and dreams. And I always ask young people, when I have a moment to talk to someone, or even friends of mine, where do you see yourself in a year or 5 years down the road? And they may get, I don't know, and you start pressing them, because you want to pull it out of them to work towards something that's going to increase their life and give them value and purpose. It's so important.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
It's funny, like you mentioned, Diamond Dallas Page. I also have been doing the DDP yoga. I've been doing it for a while. I fell off during quarantine, and then I'm coming back on slowly. But I had the fortunate chance to meet him, and just talking to him, like you said, and I'm getting the same vibe from you now. Honestly, is talking to him for I thought I was going to say hi. I've been doing the yoga. I really appreciate it. Can I get a picture with you? This is an amazing thing. And he spent time talking to me about yoga and chatted me up for 5-10 minutes, and was like, I left that feeling like, oh man, I gotta like do something with my with the rest of my day. And it's so true. You're energized from it. And so, you know, like you saying that, I immediately thought of that. And I'm getting the same vibe from you. So I can only imagine being in a room with the two of you.
Yeah.
That would be an incredibly positive experience, and also energizing.
It's like
There's
slamming a few Red Bulls.
There's an old saying, you know, do people like seeing you come into the room, or do they like see you leave the room? I really hope they are encouraged when they see me walk in the room.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, I'm glad he's gone.
That's awesome.
The so you do this on the road, you do it in conferences and stuff like that. So you know, to our listeners, that and I think I discussed it with you as well, that we run AV for conferences.
Yes.
And stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've been able to adapt, and also as musicians we've had to adapt to, you know, and create a different modality to get out there and do things. And you know, the technology and the internet age has really almost created a seamless gap. Of course, there's nothing like getting in front of a crowd and, you know, feeding off their energy, but this has been a good way to bridge that gap, I guess, until we can get back to normal. How do you find it? How do you find changing this, you know, feeding off a live crowd usually versus this kind of thing where you're zooming or
from 230 shows a year?
You know, guys, this pandemic's been difficult for everybody. And, you know, and I think what's really helped me, and, you know, and this is going to sound really strange, but when I look back on my life in this chapter, when this pandemic happened, I'm looking at it as a really positive thing. And I'll tell you why. I told you earlier, I've been traveling. I you know, 14 years of wrestling, and you're doing 200 something cities a year. And then now as an inspirational speaker, averaging 230 cities, 230 events a year, traveling all over the world. I've been going nonstop. And when the pandemic hit, it was March 12th. I'll never forget, because remember, we got all these events lined up. March 12th comes, we spoke to, it was they hired us for a police convention they were having in Georgia. I was living in Florida at the time. So we flew here, we did the presentation, and it was the next day my assistant started saying, you wouldn't believe how many phone calls we got for people that were canceling because of the fear of this pandemic coming and everything that's happening. And then it just snowballed every day, 4, 5, 6 cancellations, you know, and then everything was canceled. So we haven't done a live event since March 12th. So now it's about rebounding. It's about reinventing yourself. So I'm thinking, the first thing that happens, you as like everybody, you go, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know, this is my livelihood. This is my staff. I have a whole staff of people that we work together, you know, and how are we going to support keeping this going and everything else? And what happened was, you know, my whole life I've been going so much, so fast, nonstop. And it was a moment to almost like, I thought, what have I always wanted to do? I've always wanted to live near my brother, Joel. He's the closest person in my life. We are like twins, you know, we could finish each other's sentences, that type of thing, you know. We've been so close our whole lives. And but he lives in Georgia, I live in Florida. So for me, I was able to take the time, buy a new home in Georgia near my brother, Joel. And we have a lake house on Lake Lanier. And it was like this moment of clarity that I never would have had if I was just keep working the way I was working and going nonstop. But now get back to what I need to do for business now, with many business people out there, people that are listening to this podcast, about reinventing yourself or rebounding or bouncing back or whatever you want to call it. You know, what can we do? So here I am doing live events. So what can I do? Let's do virtual events. You know, obviously it's not the same as being in person. You know, I did a college the other day, you know, I don't know, 400 students. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at a camera. I have no idea if they're even listening, if they're engaged
Right.
in the presentation, where normally I could see what's happening in the audience, whether people are in tears or how people are reacting, whether they're laughing or crying or whatever, you know, what's going on, you know, and you could adjust your tonnage. There's so many things you can adjust as a speaker to engage the audience. Obviously, when you're looking just at a camera, you don't really always know what's going on out there, you know. And the only reason I do know is because I do get letters from students that saw me virtually that said, you know, you changed my life, or even you saved my life, or something like that. And you realize, wow, this is really working. But like anything, you have to adjust your company, your business, and work on things that are going to be beneficial. You know, as many parents, we've always said things like, man, if I only had time to do this or do that. Many of us have that time now. So maybe spending time with rebuilding relationships. Relationships are the most important thing in life, guys. You know, when you're on your deathbed, you are not going to care how many followers you had on social media. You ain't going to care what your next door neighbor said about you or something. The thing you're going to do is ask for your loved ones, your husband, your wife, your kids, your friends, the people that meant something in your life, relationships. And we don't spend enough time building and strengthening those relationships.
That's great. Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely see that. I wonder, thinking about like doing virtual talks and things like that, I wonder if you're actually able to, I know it's got to be tougher because you can't have the crowds and stuff, but do you think that maybe you're reaching people that otherwise maybe you wouldn't have gotten because they wouldn't have felt comfortable going to a thing, or they wouldn't have felt they can kind of do it on their own in their own space? Do you think maybe you're reaching anybody different that way, or have you found that you've been able to do that at all, or has it made a difference?
You know, that's really hard to gauge, you know. Obviously my events are mostly at schools where the kids don't really have a choice.
They gotta go. Yeah.
You know, get in there. So, but you know, because of the videos that I've put out there on social media, YouTube and so on, you know, seen by millions of people, we get letters every single day on how that presentation or something they saw changed or saved their life. I got a beautiful one today that just, you know, I really can't wait to write back to this person that sent me this letter about seeing the presentation I did about my mom. And he said that he's treated his mom terribly, and now she's very sick. And he drove a couple hours to see her and told her how much but he played the video for her. And they said they were in tears, and it just brought them closer together. And, you know, hearing things like that, the opportunity that I didn't have was now given to someone else. You know, let my heartbreak be your wake-up call.
That's pretty amazing. How has doing all this helped you with some of your own heartbreak or some of your own things that were weighing on you through life? Has talking been cathartic to you in that way?
You know, guys, I'm saving a ton of money on therapy. Okay. That stage is my therapy. I can share and talk about anything that is bothering me or things I've experienced, you know. See, guys, you know, the life's about gaining wisdom. You know, wisdom is so important. Now, you can get wisdom from one of three ways. You get wisdom from like mentors, your parents, a coach, a pastor, someone that's been inspirational in your life. You can get wisdom from books and DVDs. Or you can get wisdom from mistakes. And guys, I am the king of mistakes. So I get to share those. I'm not holding something inside. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. And when you just let it all out, there's just the freedom. Remember I said that there's no better freedom than honesty and opening up and just letting it out. No one can say, well, wait a minute, you were a drug addict. Yeah, I was. You were through that. Yes, I was.
Right. Yeah, that's I can totally relate. I'm sure we both can, just as performers and as singers and, you know, songwriters and live shows. It's that same thing. It's like, well, I don't have to go to therapy. I just screamed my head off for for an hour and, you know, got everything out. Or I wrote it down. You know, a lot of people don't have that outlet. So being able to come to one of your events or come to a show or see one of your videos is such a good way for someone to kind of piggyback on that therapy. You know, I've always found that to be kind of a thing. People retreat into songs, into shows, into TV, into books, into you know, it's all just another way of reaching somebody. So I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So something that as soon as you got back to me, just kind of switching gears just a little bit here.
Yeah, we might jump around a lot.
We might jump around a little bit,
That's
Mark.
fine.
Sorry. So the first thing that I was at work when you had called me, and I got off the phone, and my coworker's like, because I ran out to the lunchroom or whatever, and my coworker's like, is everything okay? Because when you see a coworker leaving with their phone in their hand, going, yeah, hello, they think the worst. And I was like, yeah, no, everything's fine. And they were like, is everything, what was that? And I was like, that was Marc Mero. And they were like, excuse me? And it kind of brought me back to some of my fondest memories of you and getting into wrestling was watching WCW Saturday Night, and you coming out and shooting those confetti cannons. That was like as soon as I got in contact with you and you got back to me, I'm like, man, this guy was the coolest when I was a kid. And yeah, I mean, it stuck throughout the whole, all of your career. I was always a fan, regardless. But what was I getting at here?
You were just
no
telling me you're a fan. Like,
yeah.
I agree. Johnny B. Bad
was just great.
like when I was a kid. Well, not that young of a kid, but like a kid.
He's way older than I am, by the way. Mark.
But I was definitely a fan. I love the flamboyance. I typically liked the bad guys or heels. I was one of those. I was all about, like my favorites were like Macho Man and but for some reason, man, the Johnny B. Bad character, I just loved it. It was so entertaining. And I didn't know who Little Richard was when I was a kid, and it got me like to like Little Richard later in life too. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, this is it.
What's so funny about that was, I always wondered if Little Richard, enjoyed it. They said the best form of.
I was going to ask you that.
Imitation. Flattery is the best form of imitation, right? And or imitation is the best form. Flattery is the best form of imitation, right? Okay. So I always wondered if you like, because they had a picture of him holding my poster up at one of his events,
right?
And said, they say he's pretty. He's not. Shit, you have the poster. And anyways, this is what happened. Little Richard died about a year ago or so, I believe, maybe a little longer. But his driver actually contacted me through social media, and he said, I'm Little Richard's driver, and I just wanted you to know he really liked that character.
Wow, that's
so awesome. Cool. So after all these years, I heard that, and it made me so happy to know that he enjoyed it, because it wasn't like I was mocking him in any way or trying to be rude or anything. I always wondered, geez, did he like it, or how did he feel about it? And knowing that he really enjoyed it was a great moment for me.
That's fantastic.
The best part about Johnny B. Bad was that his character was developed by Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty Rhodes, what I was going to get at. Being my mentor, being oh my gosh, I can't say enough great things about that man. He gave me my break. Now, I was just a guy that was getting beat up on TV for $150. And after one of my wrestling matches, he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey kid, anybody ever tell you you look like Little Richard?" And I thought he was talking about a wrestler. So I said, I don't know who Little Richard is. He goes, "You don't know Little Richard?" He goes, he starts singing Tutti Frutti. And I go, "Oh, you mean the singer?" He goes, "Yeah, did anybody ever tell you you look like him?" And I go, "Gosh, Dusty, I never heard that before." He goes, "I think I got a gimmick for you." And that's how Johnny B. Bad was born.
That's amazing.
I got to tell you, the most fun thing about being the character Johnny B. Bad, I got to work with Dusty Rhodes all the time. In other words, he would tell me to get there early before the matches, and he'd say, now do it like this. Go, "I'm so pretty, I should be born a little girl." And so he would do all the attributes of Johnny B. Bad. I'm a bad. Right. He'd do all these fun things, and I would try to go, "No, not like that. Do it like this." Guys, I can tell you, I remember laughing so hard at the way he was doing Johnny B. Bad that he wanted me to do when I first got it. Cause I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, man.
I would love to see Dusty Rhodes doing Johnny B. Bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so much fun. So those are memories I will always cherish, that I got to spend so much time as he developed the character Johnny B. Bad, and all the things we come up with, the kiss that don't miss, kick his booty with your tutti frutti, you know. A lot of
Yeah,
fun.
those are definitely like listening to wrestling podcasts and like behind the scenes stuff. I listened to the Eric Bischoff show and the Bruce Pritchard one, and you hear all these stories about Dusty and the type of person he was, and I don't think I've heard a single person say anything nasty about Dusty Rhodes, because he was just a really fun person to be around.
That's a good example of your watching
Elevator.
someone come in a room versus walk out.
Absolutely, guys. He was the best, and he's free. He'll be forever missed. I mean, he put so many people on the map for wrestling. He developed so many characters, and it's weird. Like I look at all the paths I took in my life, good or bad. They all ended up right here. Where I am today, and I often think if I never met Dusty Rhodes and the Johnny B. Bad character never developed and Marc Mero never made it in professional wrestling, where would I be today? What would I be doing? So I think about all the people I had an impact on would have maybe never happened if someone like Dusty Rhodes didn't come into my life. I don't know. There's an old saying. I can't remember who said it. Oh gosh, I think it might have been Billy Graham. Someone said to him, he goes something like, "You inspired 1 million people." He goes, "You know what? I just hope someday I inspire one person that will inspire 1 million people." Yeah,
and you never know what your reach is going to be. You never know.
Yeah, you just never know the impact we have on each other's life. And I tell you guys, whenever I go, whether it's to a grocery store or to a gas station or whatever, I always try to be really polite and upbeat and happy, because I never know what someone else is going through. You ever walk down a corridor or a street and someone's walking by you and you go, "Hey, how you doing?" They don't say anything because they're almost like shocked someone said hello to them.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And I live in a neighborhood that a lot of people walk their dogs and stuff, and I'm out walking my dog every day, especially now. My dog's like, fit as a fiddle because we go walking all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And, and people that never met me before, and like people say someone about a neighbor that they're not very nice, don't even say hello to them or whatever, and I'm like, you know what? My mission is to get them to smile or like me or be happy, So I will say it every single time. "Hi, how are you? You having a nice day?" When they even talk to me or not, sooner or later they'll say hello or they'll smile.
That's great.
Have you always had such like an open and upbeat attitude and been such an open person? And I ask because like the Johnny B. Bad character, when it came out, was at a time where like a Golden Gloves boxing champion might have said no to doing that character. Somebody might have been like, "Nah," and to embrace it as much as you did at the time that you did also. Have you always just kind of been like, "Hey man, I'm rolling with it. I'm going to have fun with this and do it as well as I can do it"? Or was there any trepidation?
When they offered me a contract of 6 figures, it was easy.
Fair enough.
That'll change your mind. Yeah.
I was like, "How gay do you want me to act?" Okay.
That's great.
It was quite the shock when the first time Marlena was the one that was doing my makeup,
Right.
and she had me back to the mirror and she boofed up my hair and did eyeliner and rouge and lipstick and base and foundation and all this stuff, man. I remember turning around the chair and the first thing I thought wasn't that I'm wearing all this makeup, is like, I look like Little Richard. You know what I mean? I never saw, I had to shave my mustache real thin and it was really curly. My hair was real curly and it was just amazing. But you know what? It was funny because I I didn't like wearing the makeup, and I kept asking Dream, I go, do I, once the character started getting over, I go, do I have to wear the makeup? He goes, oh, that's part of Johnny the Bad. He's so pretty, And I'm like, oh gosh. And if you guys know anything about wrestling, you probably know that there's a spot before you go out. It's called the gorilla position.
Yes.
And that's where Dusty Rhodes would have his headset on to be watching on a monitor all the matches. He would tell the other people there next to him, and they'd tell the referee when to end the match, tell the wrestlers, blah, blah. There was communication, So before my match, I'd always have to go up to the gorilla position. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start kind of toning down this makeup, like not wear my eyeliner or lipstick or something. And Dream would, as soon as I walk out there, you look at me, let me see you. Oh, no, put some color on. I'd have to go back and put makeup on.
That's great. Dusty Rhodes, pageant mom.
One funny story, guys, was that I didn't wear that red lipstick, So I wanted to wait the last minute to go up to the gorilla position where they were almost like starting my music, because they always say, "Come on, get ready, get upstairs, up on the gorilla position, and the music plays, you go out the curtain," So I'm waiting. I'm waiting. They go, "Come on, get upstairs." And I didn't want to waiting because I want Dusty Rhodes to see that I wasn't wearing makeup. And finally, I had to go up there, so I just went up there like this. All right, let's go. Just hold my hand over my mouth. Pretend I was like itching or something. And he goes, "Let me see you." And I he goes, "Get some color." And I had to run back. They paused my music, or they waited until I came back with all lipstick on.
Oh my gosh, that's
so
great.
much fun with that guy.
Now, when you moved to WWF, so you were wild man because you couldn't take the Little Richard thing over. I know. Right. I heard that through stories and podcasts and stuff that Vince really liked the idea of the Johnny B. Bad character. He really liked it, but couldn't use it because of intellectual property. So the wild man thing did you have any input into that, or was that just kind of we're gonna kind of?
Yeah, when we went for meetings with Vince and the creative team, they had some drawings done, and they came up with this character, wild man Marc Mero. And I remember being in the meeting when I was like, "Oh man, this is different," And Vince said to me, he goes, "Can you holler like Tarzan?" I'm like, "Whoa, holler like?" I go, "Vince, I don't got a very strong voice. Like I got a very raspy voice. So the louder I yell, the worse it gets, where you can't really hear me. I sound like maybe a dog could hear me on another planet, but I couldn't, hear me." So
you've been doing Little Richard for years.
Right. So and I never connected with the character, and but it was one of those things where you go, "Yeah, I'll do it." It's And I didn't connect with it because, like, what was I from a jungle? Who was I? And like Johnny B. Bad was just a flamboyant character. You could act as foolish as you want, and people would laugh, or just that's Johnny B. Bad. I could have all funny sayings, and no one's gonna say, "Well, that was stupid." Well, it's supposed to be stupid. So Wildman Marc Mero being a more of a serious character, it was just very difficult to get over as that character. And
it was a time when they had some pretty weird characters going on anyway.
Right.
It was that in between the heavy character thing and then the Attitude Era thing.
Yeah, it was a tough time because we had the characters like the Goon and TL Hopper.
Right. Yeah.
Duke the Dumpster, Drosy, and you had a lot of weird characters that I didn't, weren't really connecting with the audience, and I was one of them, and I'll admit it. It was like it was hard to do this, and then having a beautiful girl next to you that they're just yelling and screaming for her, and you're going out there and working your ass off, and they could care less, So it was tough. It was tough.
Did you have any trepidation, or were you worried at all, knowing that you couldn't bring the character over? Or were you just kind of like, I can make whatever work?
You know what? I thought I was good enough athlete to whatever they would. I guess I put a lot of faith in what they thought, and because they've created some of the greatest talents there, and the whole thing about going to WWE was about going to the dance, going to WrestleMania. Like if my career ended with just WCW, I would never felt like I got to the pinnacle of wrestling. When you wrestle at WrestleMania, it's like you got to the pinnacle of professional wrestling. There's nothing higher than WrestleMania. It's like the Super Bowl of wrestling. And getting to that and being involved in that was like such a great highlight. And I love doing the Johnny B. Bad character. I mean, when you look at your career, people ask me, what did you like best doing? WCW was by far much better for me. Would I have changed anything? Absolutely not. I'm so glad that I did what I did. I jumped ship. And even though my career didn't take off as well, like I said earlier, guys, all the different paths I took, good or bad, ended up to right where I am today. And it may have been a lot different if I didn't go to WWE.
Well, you broke a lot of ground too. Just the Johnny B. Bad character did, but also moving to you were I believe the first talent to ever have a guaranteed contract. So
yes, and
kind of like you broke that mold too.
Yeah, I mean, we broke a glass ceiling with that, because being the first one to get a guaranteed contract. Not only that, I got a huge signing bonus. I was able to bring my wife at the time, now my ex-wife, but bring her with me and travel all over the world with her. So there was a lot of things that that happened that normally wouldn't have happened before. And I remember telling Vince, I am not coming unless I got a guaranteed contract here. I was offered a great contract to stay with WCW. And I said, you need to top that. You need to bump it up every single year I'm with you. Plus I want a big signing bonus. And he agreed to everything I asked for. So I can't, nothing bad to say about that.
Well, and also you ushered in an era that really helped a lot of future talents to be able to kind of negotiate those type of things. I mean, that's kind of an industry changing moment right there, which is a pretty big deal.
Boston and Mick Foley went in just before I did, and they got the old we're here to give you an opportunity. That's it,
right?
And then I came along, but I refused to do it without a guaranteed contract. And thank God I did, because I blew out my knee shortly after I got there and needed 8 months. If I didn't have that guaranteed contract where I was making that big money at that time, I mean, it would have been very difficult to do what I did.
As a young kid, when you blew out your knee and you came back and you obviously had to change your style of wrestling because you were a little bit more high flying and stuff like that. I was really upset because I had your figure, and now you started the boxing gimmick,
right?
And I was into like customizing figures. Like I remember when Kane came along, I took like a Sid figure and clay and paint, and I used to like redo them. Wow. So I had to make boxing shorts for the Wild Man, and what's amazing. The worst part is that every time I moved your legs, they would just crack off because of the clay. It was the worst.
So it was a tuxedo match every time.
It was a tuxedo match. Yeah.
I am so sorry for ruining your childhood.
No, it's okay. It's okay. He does this every day, so
all the time. All the time.
See, this is therapy right now. Okay,
right?
Exactly. See,
I save.
You're getting it out, man.
I save money.
Oh. So I have a question that's more of a comical one. But to you, what do you think was what was the harder job to deal with, digging swimming pools or the brawl for all?
You know what? The good thing is I never got hurt in either one of them. So,
yeah, you lucked out on both.
Some guys got really messed up in the brawl for all, and I can't even remember hardly even being punched in the face. I mean, because I was a boxer, I was really elusive, but I didn't have the same boxing skills I had when I was 20 years old. I've had at that time I had 5 shoulder surgeries, 4 elbow surgeries. I never had the same. I couldn't move the same way I did when I was younger, but I didn't make excuses. It's one of those things that was not a great idea. And the reason I did it was because I just didn't back down from a challenge. I've always been like that. I think all the guys that did it were just tough guys and I ain't saying nothing bad about nobody, but everyone was offered the opportunity to do it. And there's a lot of guys that wouldn't do it because they never wanted to risk their reputation of getting beat up on national TV. So anyone that did it had the balls to do it. Were the guys in the company that had the most balls to go out there and fight in front of everybody, real fight.
And then you got to win and fight Butterbean. Well, you had
prize.
A match with Butterbean.
No. I fought Butterbean in a tough man contest for the pay-per-view. Okay.
Right.
And he was a great guy. I gotta tell you, to this day, I really like Bean. We had quick funny story about the pay-per-view was after I think we went 2 or 3 rounds or whatever it was in the pay-per-view. And we had 2 stools. Okay. One stool was for me to sit on in between the rounds. And one stool underneath the ring was a breakaway stool that when you hit them, it just shatters in pieces. It was made that way. Because the finish of the match was I was going to get disqualified for hitting him over the head with the stool, the wooden stool. And what happened was my corner man gave me the wrong stool. He gave me the stool I sit on instead of the stool that breaks away.
You cracked him in the bean with a real stool.
I hit him and it wouldn't break it. I mean, if you look at the pay-per-view, you can see I had to hit him again. And I hit him as hard as I could again. And the only thing that came off, the top came off of it. It didn't splinter and shatter all over the place like it was supposed to. And so that night we all went out to dinner, and Butterbean said to me, he goes, man, you really hit me hard with that stool. And I said, I'm so sorry. They gave me the wrong stool. He goes, wow, I got a hard head, because he actually still broke it.
Oh my God.
Oh man. I love, oh yeah. So I could talk to you for, I feel like we could talk to you forever. This has totally been awesome. We're going to take a pause here, and we have to do our sponsor thing. We're sponsored by a company called Poddex, and it is a company that kind of does. Have you ever played the game Cards Against Humanity? Or heard of that game at all?
I have not, unfortunately.
All right. It's basically a card game where you're given like phrases to finish, or when you're guessing who on the table would have said something or things like that. It gets to be like really funny when you're with family and friends. Well, it's a very similar thing with Poddex. They've come out with something for podcasters to help them kind of come up with questions, come up with topics to talk about with their guests. As you've seen, we can talk forever.
We have verbal diarrhea, so we don't have a
problem. But we are super proud that we are sponsored by them. So every interview that we do, or actually every podcast that we do, we pause for a second and we do a question from Poddex. So would you mind taking a question from the Poddex? We're going to grab a random one for you. Is that all right?
I believe it's probably be a lot better than the 7 ones you gave me before. Okay. So, yeah.
You might be right.
So Mark, we could do, they have multiple decks. We have the What the Heck deck, the Would You Rather deck, and then just, basic, interview decks. Do you have a preference? Do you have a favorite?
Go with the interview deck.
Interview deck. You got it. Let's grab right from the middle here. Now,
this is also the part of the show that we make fun of Jimmy because he can't.
This is the part of the
he can't shuffle very well.
I cannot shuffle at all. I lived in Vegas for a while, and I cannot shuffle even a little. So, like, you'll see me kind of like, I'll just do this.
He does.
I'll do this, and then I'll hand it
for
to
the listeners only. Yeah, then he'll hand it to me.
That's for our ASMR people. Do the deck for the microphone. Mike, however, has a pretty good shuffle until he just dropped everything on the floor.
Yeah, thanks. All right,
we're
good. So you can fan them out and let them.
So
pick.
We're gonna fan them out, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up close to the camera, and I'm just gonna kind of move my hand over, and you're gonna pick your own question.
Okay.
You just tell me when to stop.
Okay. Stop.
All right. All right, your question from Poddex, powered by Poddex. Marc Mero, what is your favorite body part about yourself?
My favorite body part, I would have to say my arms, huh? Come on.
There we go.
All right. Look at that. We didn't even schedule a gun show.
Yeah. So thank you again to Poddex. Don't forget to go to poddex.com, use the promo code BACON,
10%
because
off
everything's better with bacon.
Indeed.
And you get 10% off your Poddex order. And they have cool swag too.
Yes,
they've got some cool shirts and hats and whatnot. So definitely support those guys. It supports the show. And we appreciate that.
And looking at Mark's arms, I would say that I wouldn't want to be in any kind of brawl for all.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad idea.
In any way, shape, or form. How have you managed to, like, again, with as much traveling as you do, how have you managed to stay in such great shape? through injuries and stuff like that. How are you managing to kind of like stay in, like, you're in awesome shape, dude. Like, it's,
Guys, I actually turned 61. I'll be 61 this coming summer. And
nice.
I tell you, man, I feel like a kid. If I didn't know I'd be 61, I would say I was 31. I feel it, inside.
Nice.
I feel great. I eat really well. I eat smart anyways, the key is if I train 3 times a week. I don't train a lot. I don't overtrain, but the key to really staying healthy is eating properly. And of course, get my DDPY in. That Dallas has really developed a great program that's really good for your body and stretching and so on. And I also do a little strength training too to keep my joints and still have some muscle size. So I still enjoy that every now and then.
Nice. You've definitely fountain of youth it. I can say that now. I would not have believed 61 at all.
Oh man, I tell you, it's crazy when I really think about it, and how fast time goes by. It's like before you know it, you're gonna be 70 and 80, and then who knows?
Man, how much do you think mindset has to go with that too? Because again, being such a positive person.
That is, and I should have mentioned that earlier. I tell you, I hit the ground running, man. I get up every morning around 5:30. I'm an early riser. I love life, and I think it shows in my attitude. It shows in my health. Guys, in 14 years of presenting, I have never been late or missed a show. I don't get sick. I'm blessed. I mean, thank God I just been blessed. Not that I won't ever get sick, but I just haven't, so I stay really healthy. And, I've had surgeries. That's something I have in control. I have 4 years ago, I had a cow's valve put in my chest. I was actually born with 2 valves instead of 3. And when they found out, it's so funny because when they found out, the doctor was like, wait a second, you played hockey, you played football, you boxed, and you wrestled? Crazy.
Yeah.
We got to give you a new heart. It's like,
wow.
So,
when did you find that out?
Yeah.
How long ago was it that you found that out?
It was about 6 or 7 years ago. And then every year I'd go to the Cleveland Clinic and they do all these tests on me to decide. They always knew I'd be eventually getting a new heart valve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of time. And then the last time I went was the time they said, it's time. It was leaking so badly, my heart. So they put a new cow's valve in. And guys, I'll tell you, if I didn't have this scar on my chest, I would never know there was anything different in my life. There's no pain. There's no, I wouldn't even know it. I mean, I train really hard. I do everything the normal person would do. And I'm just grateful.
Wow, that's just
guys,
amazing.
it's like I said, it's an attitude of gratitude. Every day I'm just blessed. I really, really feel like I am blessed in life. I'm happy. And I just want to, go as long as I can go.
That's outstanding. We are coming up on the 1 hour mark, so I don't want to keep you too long. This has been, like I said, we could talk to you forever. This has been such an awesome, I'm grateful for you doing this with us. I really appreciate it. This has been really cool. It's been really uplifting for me, just preparing for this interview, seeing everything that you've been doing. And I ordered your book because I want to be the happiest person on the face of the planet. I love that a Post-it note was how you did, you put a Post-it note on your computer, said, I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. You've inspired me. You've been inspiring. And it's just so cool to see everything that you've been doing, and talking to you just backs up everything. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this hour. It's been super cool.
Guys, you do a great job. I'm really blessed to have been on your show, and I look forward to coming on the future. Maybe next time you'll have 7 better questions than you had this time. Okay?
We'll work on the questions. We'll work on it. It's a new thing.
He was saying to me, because we were working on for a little while, and he was like, I think we should, what was it, a couple weeks ago? He's like, I think maybe we should switch one of the questions. Like, no, this is it. This is the.
I just don't want you to lose that sponsor. Okay, they're great. Okay. Pod Deck is great, man.
But Marc, last question. This is an easy one. Where can people find out about you, about Think Pause,
Yes.
about Champion of Choices, all of that great stuff. Where can they find that?
Oh, guys, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm just at Marc Mero. Marc is with a C, MARCMERO. And of course, our YouTube channel is The Marc Mero. And of course, your Facebook, I'm there, with a bunch of followers. So it'll be great. I try to put really positive stuff up as much as possible. And you can always private message me, and I'll do my best to get back to you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And I think we've discovered, if I've learned anything, I've learned that Marc Mero, life is your bacon.
Yeah.
Hey, there's some bacon for you right there.
There it
Okay.
is.
Yo,
There it is.
The gun show. Twice.
2 gun shows.
Two
I
gun
love
shows.
it. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We can't thank Marc Mero enough. This has been super cool. You can find myself and Mike on our Twitters and Facebooks as well.
At Bacon is my pod.
At Bacon is my pod. So please find us there. Check out our music projects as well. Something
Bacon is
Heavy,
my
Craving
passion.
Strange, Bacon is my passion.
.com. I'm sorry, baconsmypodcast.com.
Yeah, you can find all that stuff. Pick up a What's Your Bacon t-shirt and use the hashtag What's Your Bacon and let us know that you're talking about it. If you have any questions for us, if you have any questions that maybe we can send to Marc, because it seems like he's incredibly good at getting back to people and continuing conversation. I hope this is the first of many times that we actually get to interact with you. This has been super fun. And we look forward to seeing everything that you do. Look forward to when you can commence being in front of crowds again.
When you hit the road again,
hitting the
hopefully
road
we can
Yes.
catch you.
And we'll definitely do this again sometime soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for
All
watching.
right, guys. Thank you, man.
Marc, again, thank you so much for being here.
God bless you. Bless your
Stay
listeners.
on. We're going to sign off. If you have one final message for all the listeners, please go ahead. The floor is yours, and then we'll be out.
Oh, guys, I often leave a podcast with just saying that, the best chapters of your life are about to be written, but you have to realize that you are the author. And every day you could write a new page, and those new pages, they become your new chapters. And just because many of you out there have had some bad chapters, just like me, it doesn't mean it's the end of the story. The rest of your life will be the best of your life. Never, ever give up.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marc.
Thank
See you later, people. We'll see you next time.